The rain was coming down in sheets as I stared out the window of our apartment in Seattle. I'd always loved the rain, found it soothing, but tonight it just mirrored the storm raging inside me. My name is Corbin, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had it all. A good job as a software developer, a comfortable life, and a wife, Giselle, whom I adored. We'd been married for 7 years, together for 10, and I honestly believed we were each other's forever. Giselle worked as a marketing manager for a large corporation downtown. She was smart, driven, and beautiful. I was always so proud of her accomplishments, always eager to hear about her day. Looking back, maybe that's where I went wrong. Maybe I was too trusting, too blind to the signs. It started subtly. Giselle began working later hours, claiming new projects and demanding deadlines. Business trips became more frequent. She was always on her phone, texting, and when I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd brush it off with a casual, just work stuff. I didn't want to be the jealous husband, so I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but a nagging feeling kept growing in the pit of my stomach. One evening, about a month ago, Giselle told me she had to go to Portland for a conference. "It's a big one, Corbin," she said, packing her suitcase. "Lots of networking opportunities. I'll be back on Friday." I kissed her goodbye, told her to have a good trip, and watched her drive away. That night I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. Finally, around 3 a.m., I got up and went to the living room. I started flipping through channels, trying to distract myself, when I noticed Giselle's laptop sitting on the coffee table. She usually took it with her on trips. Curiosity, or maybe it was dread, overwhelmed me. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist. I opened the laptop. She wasn't logged out of her email. My heart started pounding as I scrolled through her inbox. Most of it was work-related, just as she'd said. But then I saw an email with the subject line, "Can't wait to see you." It was from someone named Jasper. I clicked on it. "Giselle, darling," the email read, "I'm counting down the hours until you get here. I've booked a room at the Benson, just like you wanted. Get ready for a weekend you won't forget." The blood drained from my face. The Benson was a luxury hotel in downtown Portland. A weekend she wouldn't forget. The winking face, it was all too clear. I scrolled further down and read more emails between Giselle and Jasper. They were filled with intimate details, plans for romantic dinners, and promises of passionate nights. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The woman I loved, the woman I'd built my life with, was having an affair. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, rereading the emails, trying to convince myself it wasn't real, but it was. The evidence was right there in front of me. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face anyone. I just sat on the couch, staring blankly at the TV as the reality of Giselle's betrayal sunk in. I felt like my world was collapsing around me. When Giselle returned on Friday evening, she seemed perfectly normal. "How was the conference, honey?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It was great," she said, smiling. "I learned a lot, met some interesting people. I'm exhausted, though." She kissed me on the cheek and went to unpack. I watched her, my heart aching. How could she lie to my face like that? How could she pretend that everything was okay? That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, listening to Giselle's soft breathing, wondering how I could confront her. I knew I couldn't keep living a lie. I had to know the truth. The next morning I decided to act. I had to gather more evidence. I needed to know the full extent of her betrayal. I started by checking her phone records. It wasn't easy. I had to wait until she was in the shower, then quickly unlock her phone and access the call history. There it was, a long list of calls and texts to Jasper's number. Some of them were late at night, others during her business trips. I took screenshots of the records and sent them to my own phone. Then I decided to follow her. I knew it was risky, but I had to see for myself. A few days later, Giselle told me she had a lunch meeting with a client downtown. I pretended to be busy with work, but as soon as she left, I got in my car and followed her. I kept a safe distance, making sure she didn't spot me. She parked near a restaurant I knew well, a fancy Italian place. I parked across the street and watched as she walked inside. A few minutes later, Jasper arrived. He was tall, handsome, and impeccably dressed. They greeted each other with a kiss, then went inside. I sat there watching the restaurant, my hands clenched into fists. The anger inside me was building, threatening to explode. I waited for 2 hours before they finally emerged. They were laughing, holding hands. They walked to a nearby park and sat on a bench, talking and cuddling. I watched them, feeling like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. I couldn't take it anymore. I started my car and drove away, tears streaming down my face. That night I confronted her. "I know about Jasper," I said, my voice trembling. Giselle's face turned white. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. "Don't play dumb," I said, pulling out my phone and showing her the screenshots of her emails and phone records. "I know about the conference in Portland. I know about your lunch dates. I know everything." Giselle burst into tears. "Corbin, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "How could you?" I asked, my voice rising. "How could you betray me like this? I loved you, I trusted you." I know," she said, her voice choked with tears. "I've been so stupid, I don't know what I was thinking." She tried to explain, to justify her actions, but I couldn't listen. I was too hurt, too angry. She said she felt neglected, that I was always working, that she needed attention. But those were just excuses. Nothing could justify what she had done. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice cold. "I want you out of my life." Giselle begged me to forgive her, to give her another chance. She promised to end things with Jasper, to go to counseling, to do whatever it took to win me back. But I couldn't. The trust was broken. The love was gone. "It's over, Giselle," I said. "I can't do this anymore." She left that night, taking her belongings with her. I watched her go, feeling empty and alone. The next few weeks were a blur. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I lost weight, I lost focus at work. I was a shell of my former self. My friends tried to support me, to cheer me up, but nothing seemed to help. I was consumed by anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. One day, a few weeks after Giselle left, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered it. "Hello, is this Corbin?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who is this?" I replied. "My name is Willow," she said. "I'm Jasper's wife." My heart skipped a beat. "His wife?" I asked, surprised. "Yes," Willow said. "I know about the affair. I found out a few weeks ago." She explained that she had suspected something was going on between Jasper and Giselle for months. She had hired a private investigator to follow them, and the investigator had provided her with irrefutable evidence of their affair. "I'm so sorry, Corbin," Willow said. "I know what you're going through. It's a terrible feeling." We talked for a long time, sharing our stories of betrayal and heartbreak. We discovered that we had a lot in common. We were both intelligent, successful, and trusting people who had been blindsided by the people we loved. As we talked, I felt a connection with Willow, a sense of understanding that I hadn't felt with anyone else since Giselle left. We started talking on the phone every day, sharing our thoughts and feelings. We met for coffee, then for dinner. We found comfort in each other's company. Willow was beautiful, kind, and compassionate. She understood my pain, my anger, my confusion. She helped me to see that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't to blame for Giselle's actions. Over time, our friendship grew into something more. We fell in love. It was unexpected, but it felt right. Willow was everything Giselle wasn't: honest, loyal, and supportive. She loved me for who I was, not for what I could provide. We started spending more and more time together, exploring Seattle, going on hikes, and cooking dinners at home. We laughed, we cried, we shared our dreams and fears. With Willow, I felt like I could finally heal, that I could move on from the pain of Giselle's betrayal. One evening, as we were sitting on my balcony watching the sunset over the Puget Sound, Willow turned to me and said, "Corbin, I want to thank you." "Thank me?" I asked, confused. "For what?" "For being you," she said. "For showing me that there is still good in the world, that love is still possible even after betrayal. You've helped me to heal, to find happiness again." I smiled and took her hand. "You've done the same for me, Willow," I said. "You've shown me that life can surprise you, that even in the darkest moments there is always hope for a better future." We kissed, and in that moment I knew that I had found my second chance. I had lost Giselle, but I had gained something even more valuable: a true partner, a soulmate, someone who loved me unconditionally. But the story doesn't end there. A few months later, I received a letter from Giselle. She was struggling. Jasper had left her for another woman, and she was alone and broke. She had lost her job, and she was facing eviction from her apartment. She asked me for help. I was torn. Part of me wanted to ignore her, to let her suffer the consequences of her actions. But another part of me felt a sense of responsibility. After all, we had been together for a long time. We had shared a life. I couldn't just abandon her. I talked to Willow about it and she was surprisingly understanding. "It's your decision, Corbin," she said. "But I know you have a good heart. Do what you think is right." I decided to help Giselle. I didn't give her money, but I helped her find a new job in a more affordable apartment. I even helped her to get some counseling. I didn't forgive her for what she had done, but I wanted her to be okay. I wanted her to have a chance to rebuild her life. It wasn't easy. Seeing Giselle again brought back a lot of painful memories, but I knew I was doing the right thing. And with Willow by my side, I was able to get through it. In the end, Giselle was able to get back on her feet. She found a new job, a new apartment, and a new sense of purpose. She even apologized to me for what she had done. I accepted her apology, not for her sake, but for my own. I needed to let go of the anger, the resentment, the pain. I needed to move on. I learned a lot from that experience. I learned that betrayal can happen to anyone, that even the people we love the most are capable of hurting us. But I also learned that it's possible to heal, to forgive, and to find love again even after the most devastating heartbreak. And I learned that sometimes the greatest blessings come from the most unexpected places. I'm now happily married to Willow. We have a beautiful life together, filled with love, laughter, and trust. And while I will never forget what happened with Giselle, I no longer let it define me. I have moved on and I am finally at peace. The rain still falls in Seattle, but now it no longer feels like a storm. It feels like a cleansing, a reminder that even after the darkest nights, the sun will always rise again.